Chapter 3. The First Blow. Your Majesty. Merlara turned over and pulled the blankets over her head. Your Majesty, blood has been shed. You are needed. Come, quickly. Merlara sat up, her heart in her mouth. She opened the door, a lighted candle in her hand. Her maid Sadine stood before her, her hair in a messy bundle, her face pale in the candle light. Your Majesty, the ambassadors you sent. The ambassadors. Merlara's blood ran cold. The ambassadors are leagues from here. No, Your Majesty, they've returned. I can tell you no more. Her heart racing, Merlara forced herself to speak calmly. I will come. Summon Tyriel also. She shut the door and began to dress hastily. Why had the ambassadors returned so soon? They had been gone for weeks. She thought of the wild look in Sadine's eyes. What had they said to her? Were they attacked? Had the Seldrian somehow discovered their intentions and intercepted them? Impossible. The Seldrian were too large to spy on them so closely. She hurried down the hall. Tyriel met her and gave her a tense nod. Together they entered the throne room, then stopped abruptly. Higelac, Tyor, Nahim, Ladiel and Tyor stood before them, their faces grim. Fendel, one of the Silge messengers they had sent, stood by Tyor, his face haggard, his left arm in a sling. Several soldiers stood behind them. 2 long wooden boxes lay on the floor. Merlara stood speechless. She stared at Tyor, disbelief in her eyes. He shook his head sadly. She turned to the remaining messenger. Fendel, what happened to you on the road? Did the Seldrian intercept you? Fendel was silent for a moment, then spoke hesitantly. No, my queen. A band of thieves attacked us. What do you mean? Merlara demanded. You are a skilled warrior, as were your comrades. How were you overpowered by common thieves? Again he hesitated. Answer me, she shouted. I don't know. I say they were thieves because they presented themselves as such. But truly, they fought us as skilled warriors. Merlara looked at him intently. He was hiding something, of that she was certain. This unsettled her even more than it already would have. It was unusual of Fendel to conceal anything from her. She looked at Tyor and Tyriel. She could tell the same thing had occurred to them as well. I will only ask you once, so answer me well. Did you recognize any of them? An ominous silence filled the air. Fendel stood still, his face registering both fear and uncertainty. Merlara kept her eyes on his face, as though her stare would make him speak. At last he spoke, though in a low voice. Their faces were covered. But when all was over, I examined them. I only recognized one. Was he Tyorian? Yes, as were they all. Do you know his name? Citendelf. Of what tribe was he? Fendel said nothing. I won't ask you again, she snapped. The Pure Woods. Tyrell and Higelac visibly stiffened. Tyor silently stepped closer to Merlara. Ladiel, Nahim, and Tyriel exchanged glances. What of the others? Fendel shifted uncomfortably. I couldn't tell. Merlara was inclined to disbelieve him. But Fendel wasn't in the habit of lying. She turned to Tyrell. What do you know of this? Tyrell's face flushed with anger, but her voice was calm. I knew nothing of this act of treason. My desire to defeat the Seldrian is no less than yours. If this Citendelf instigated this, he did so in violation of my authority. Merlara looked at Higelac. And what do you have to say? Higelac drew himself up haughtily. I know nothing. Merlara wasn't convinced, but she couldn't accuse him without proof. She turned to Fendel. How did you return? The village Velenaz was half a mile from where we were ambushed. Fendel motioned to 3 young men standing by. Merlara looked at them with surprise. She had been too distraught to notice them earlier. These men, Vasiri, Kunusk, and Lestri, found us while returning from a hunt. With their assistance I carried them to the village. My brother Davin died before we could save him. Norlim died 3 days later. Afterward they agreed to accompany me here with the bodies to discourage further attacks. Merlara looked at the men quizzically. Their dark skin revealed them to be of Callagan race. Their worn clothes showed them to be hunters, accustomed to living in the wild. 2 had short beards, but the third was clean-shaven. All 3 carried bows. The first 2 men had long hair like Tyor, and the third had short hair. The 2 eldest looked to be about Tyor and Tyor's age, while the youngest didn't look much older than Merlara. She correctly surmised that they were brothers. Vasiri, the eldest, stepped forward and bowed. "I thank you for your assistance," Merlara said. "I trust you know the errand these men were entrusted with." "We do, Your Majesty. Therefore if it pleases you, 2 of us will deliver your message to Callagan." Merlara's heart lightened. "Our people humbly thank you. However, before then you and your companions will abide here and refresh yourselves." She turned to Fendel. "You have my deepest condolences on the loss of your brother. If you have any request, I will grant it." Fendel bowed. "I will only ask this, that you will grant the Puma Sumesai permission to abide with her companions." "One of the Tokwai is here?" Tyor asked in surprise. "Yes, my lady. She was born near Velanaz, and wished to accompany us. But the men at the castle gate refused to let her enter." The mountain lions, known as the Tokwai, were native to Callagan, and friendly with its people. Some lived in Tyor, and their leaders had always been on friendly terms with King Taith and Queen Eadriel. "Of course, Fendel," Merlara said, "she may enter. Tyor will see to it." Tyor bowed and left the room. "You and your companions will stay here tonight. Tomorrow you will deliver the bodies to their families, and inform them that I will personally arrange their burial ceremonies." "We hear and obey," Fendel answered. He bowed and left the room with his companions, while the soldiers bore the coffins away. Merlara turned to the council. "You may leave. But be ready, for I will investigate this further when I'm free to do so." Higlak, Terrell, and Ladiel left, but Nahim lingered. "If it pleases you, Your Majesty, I will stay to greet Sumesai, and inform her you were unable to do so." Merlara began to protest, but Tyor interjected. "He speaks wisely. I will stay also, for I wish to meet her, and you've had a great deal thrust on you." Merlara sighed. "Very well. See that Fendel and his companions are properly settled." Tyor and Nahim bowed. Merlara turned and went back to her room. Without bothering to undress, she lay down. She closed her eyes, but the faces of the 2 dead men stared at her, accusing, condemning. "We served you well, and you repaid us by sending us to our deaths. How many more will die because of your rashness?" Her heart racing, Merlara turned over and tried to turn her thoughts elsewhere. But the 2 men remained ever before her, their accusing gazes as piercing as a dagger.